I now request Professor G.V. Gopal, Dean of Instructions, RI Mysuru, to welcome the gathering.
Good afternoon, everybody. I welcome all of you for the 61st Foundation Day of NCERT, which in RI Mysuru we are celebrating today. NCERT is an advisory body to Ministry of School Education. We are celebrating the 61st Foundation Day. NCERT, yesterday we have seen the virtual meet the Minister of Education has visited, and that meeting took place on 1st September 2021. In this connection, I would like to briefly summarize the 60 years of NCERT's achievements in a very brief manner. It takes a long time for covering all the areas. So a brief mention. NCERT is an apex organization of school education, works towards the quality improvement and standards in school education. It also helps in development of the teacher support and empowerment of the teachers in the country. Recently, NCERT has implemented the learning outcomes and NEP 2020 were the major objectives, and which are now NCERT is on the process to implement the national policy on education. Diksha and MOOCs, Prime Minister's eVidya program are some of the initiatives which were taken at children's learning through online mode in this pandemic situation. Was a very critical situation how the schools were functioning in this pandemic situation also. We have developed an alternative calendar in which we made the schools in the home. Sports and games were given utmost importance in NCERT, and thus it promotes all-round development of a personality. Needs less to say, all IAS officers take NCERT books for their preparation for both preliminary and mains. NCERT gives a broad framework of curriculum for national policy on education, and it is under progress. NCERT has done a lot of programs like PMOS, DPEP, SSA, RMSA, Operation Blackboard. NCERT has created an NROER, Enlist Consortium Services, barcode-based curriculum, e-learning, and e-learning libraries, RISM establishment for sports and games itself is a milestone in educational endeavors of Fit India movement of NCERT. RI Ajmer, RI Bhopal, RI Bhubaneswar, RI Mysore, RI Shillong are the units of NCERT and take the policies of NCERT to the public for the benefit of the country and the people. NCERT in the past has community singing competition has conducted throughout the country to develop patriotism in school children. In RI Mysore, we adopted Hunsur block for research study conducted in the year 2016 to 19. And then we have done the march past, taking oath in the schools, build the confidence in the student. Besides, NCERT conducts quizzes, debates, Hindi competitions, Hindi Pakwara, drawing competition, painting competition to bring in all-round development in a child. Digital India initiative makes India, Heritage India, Swachh Bharat Mission, gender parity, skill India, girl child education, inclusive education, Olympiads, maths and science exhibition, social science also are conducted. Besides this, IT Mela is also being conducted every year. All these speaks volumes of progress. Educational survey was conducted periodically to give the status updates of the school education in India. With these few words, I take this opportunity to invite all of you, particularly Professor K.S. Sharma, IAS, Chief Guest of our function, and Director of NVS and Director of General Prasara Bharati to this function, sir. I heartily welcome on personal behalf, on behalf of Principal and on behalf of all the staff of our team. Sri, I also invite our Principal, Professor Y.S. Srikanth, for this function, with whose guidance we are actually doing many of these things. He is actually a key pivotal for all of us to give the directions. I also welcome you, sir, for this function. And I also invite Professor C.J. Venkatesh Murthy, who is the Dean of Research of RI Mysore. I also invite you, sir, for this function.
Hello.
And Professor C. Padmaja, Head DE, also I invite for this function. And Director NCERT Sridhar Srivastava, also I invite him for this function. And all the principals and DM school staff also I invite for this function. And all other faculty, those who are virtually connected, also I welcome all of them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I wish to call upon Professor C.G. Venkateshamurthy, Dean of Research, RI Mysuru, to introduce today's guest to us.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, today I have the privilege of introducing our chief guest, Sri K. Subramanya Sharma, an IAS officer of 1968 batch, who is a very bright scholar from the beginning. He holds BA Honours in Mathematics Economics from the Andhra University with a first class, MA Mathematical Economics, first class, MSc Mathematical Economics from Andhra University, first class, first rank in the university, and he also has a DCA in Computer Applications with a first class. Mr. K. Sharma, IAS, who is now retired, belonged to 1968 batch of Andhra Pradesh cadre. Briefly stated, in his 40 years of long career, for the first 2 decades of his service, he worked in the field of district and the secretariat of the government of Andhra Pradesh. In the last 2 decades of his service, he worked in Government of India, primarily in the Ministry of Human Resources Development for about a decade, and Ministry of Information Broadcasting for about a decade. Apart from an exceptionally brilliant academic career, he was exposed also to the working of finance and planning departments of Andhra Pradesh. He was a lecturer in economics and statistics in Delhi University. Then he did his MPhil in education from the University of Manchester. He was also the emeritus professor of IGNOU. And apart from that, he has his bureaucratic distinction. He was the director, the joint secretary in the Ministry of Human Resources Development. He was also the education secretary of Government of Andhra Pradesh. Then he was the chairman of the Council for Higher Education, Government of India, joint secretary in the Ministry of Labour, Government of India, then additional secretary in the HRD. He was the vice chairman of the Jawahar Navodaya Vidyalaya Schools, Ministry of HRD, vice chairman of the Kendra Vidyalaya Schools in the Ministry of HRD. Then he also held positions in Information and Broadcasting Ministry. He was the Joint Secretary, Director General Doordarshan, Director General All India Radio, the first Chairman cum Managing Director of the Broadcast Engineers Consultants of India. Then he went on to become the CEO of the Prasar Bharati in the Ministry of INB for about 4 years. He was the Vice Chairman of the Asian Pacific Broadcasting Association for 4 years, Vice President Commonwealth Broadcasting Association for 4 years, President Indian Broadcasting Foundation for 4 years, First Chief Executive Officer of Sri Venkateshwara Bharati Channel Tirupati. He was also the director for 13 different corporations. It would take a very long time, and he has a very long biodata. It is difficult for anybody to sum it up in a very quick time. Still, I try to introduce him as much as I can. After his retirement also, Sri K. Sharma worked or is working as director, convener in different companies and institutions. He has worked as independent director for Satluj Jalavidyut Nigam, Shimla, Himachal Pradesh, convener of the task force for the electronics and communications and the information technology, Government of India, independent director of the Catholic Syrian Bank, Thrissur, Kerala, independent director of the Goldstone Technologies, Hyderabad, convener of the task force of Government of India. He has attended 3 different professional courses in India, and he has attended 9 professional courses, 3 in international, 1 in UK, again 1 in UK, another one in Tokyo, then 9 different professional courses in India, and he was the Vice President of the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Corporation for 3 years, Vice President Commonwealth Broadcasting Corporation for 2 years, and he has held several positions: President Indian Broadcasting Federation, Director General Doordarshan, Director General All India Radio, CEO Prasar Bharati, Central Provident Fund Commissioner, Government of India, Director General Employment and Training, Director and Vice Chairman of Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti, where NCRT came in contact with him in a big way. He is a very good friend of NCRT, and way back in 1985-86 when we started Navodaya Vidyalayas in the country, he was the first director. He was in touch with all of us in NCRT. He laid a very firm foundation. Today Navodaya Vidyalayas are functioning. This is one of the successful experiments in elementary education. Thanks and kudos to Mr. K. Sharma and his team comprising Dr. Chaya and Dr. Narang and all of them, who worked with him along with the NCRT people. He is a very good friend of NCRT. He also served as the Vice Chairman, Kendriya Vidyalaya Samiti, Government of India, and he also served as the CEO, Venkateshwara Bhakti Channel, Tirupati, Andhra Pradesh. He has a very big list of accomplishments. Friends, I think this will give you a thumbnail sketch of his accomplishments and his credentials and credibility, to say the least. Sir, we are indeed extremely happy to have you with us as the chief guest of today's function. We are all delighted to receive you virtually and looking forward to listening to you, sir. Thank you very much. That's a very brief introduction. He has an enormous accomplishments. Sir, we are indeed very happy. Thank you very much, sir.
I spent about 10, 11 years in the field of education, which is a very rewarding experience and continues to be so even today. Having said that, thank you very much. And now let me, first of all, state some points where Mr. Murthy has left. Yes, indeed, I came to know NCRT only after joining Ministry of HRD. And at that time, Sri Malhotra was the director. And by the time I joined in 86 March, there were two experimental schools running, one at Jajjar and another at Amravati, with the full assistance of NCRT. And by the time, by the time they started, the Samiti was not established at all. And it was my privilege to start that Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti, the first office, and then rest of the works that are required to make them move. By 86 March, when I joined, these two schools were running, both at Amravati and Jajjar. However, the number of schools that were asked to be started was in hundreds thereafter. The task was, as they say, humongous, to say the least. And with the cooperation of NCRT, we moved forward. We devised an admission test and started establishing school after school after school. In fact, number of people from NCRT accompanied me to various districts in the country to select the sites in each district. Very difficult target was given that we should select 30 acres of land in each district where we propose to start the school. That's a lot of area. And not all state governments were willing to give them in prime locations, in locations where there was good access, etc. In fact, I don't know how many of you are aware, initially Tamil Nadu refused, and to the best of my knowledge, even till now, there is not a single Navodaya school in Tamil Nadu. Their objection was on some language grounds, which was, to my mind at that time, and even today, very strange, because they would like to have as many Kendriya Vidyalayas as possible, where Hindi is also taught as a subject and as a medium of instruction in social sciences. And medium of instruction in Kendriya Vidyalayas in sciences is English. In spite of all that clamor for Kendriya Vidyalayas, Tamil Nadu government, similarly West Bengal, They said, sorry, we can't take them up. And even Assam, we didn't have schools. It started like that. Later, over the years, I've learned that Assam has joined and even West Bengal to some extent has joined. But the issue is, why these schools? It was a huge debate that started as a part of the then new education policy, which is now very old. They were originally called model schools, and huge debate saying that should we really invest so much money on a small number of children on one hand, and on the other hand, this is a normal practice to promote rural talent, which is really going waste in spite of all our efforts to improve primary education at the rural India level, etc., etc. And during my tenure at Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti, Sri A.K. Sharma ji came, and later, when I was vice chairman of Navodayas, Sri Rajput was there, and in the meanwhile, there was Mr. Gopalan, who was also director NCERT, and I recall with fond memories our association to improve the system in many which ways. Now, I promised Srikanth that I'll give certain background as to how this idea came up. That is very important, though it may be part of history. The idea came twice into the forefront. Indeed, I wrote about this in one of the publications of NCERT when I was CEO Prasar Bharati also, which was published in the magazine that came out on the occasion of, I think, 25 years or 30 years of
25
NCERT.
years. Malhotra's time.
Pardon me?
Dr. Malhotra's time, 25 years.
Right,
Yeah.
very right. I was then CEO Prasar Bharati, but Mr. Rajput requested me to write an article on why and how this entire idea came, because it's not as if it's greatly new, but to do it on a national level was unprecedented. In some states, some schools were started, residential schools for poor or otherwise. But to do it on a national scale was something unheard of. The reason why I am very keen to mention it is very easy to criticize our politicians for what they appear to us like, which maybe many of a time turned out to be true also, but this particular scheme, which is proving to be some outstanding success for various reasons later. First, the idea was given to Mrs. Gandhi. When she got elected from 2 constituencies in Andhra Pradesh, way back in the 79-80 election after her comeback, he asked the then Bhishma Pitamaha of the Congress party, Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao. She was overwhelmed with the response after having lost the confidence of the people. So she said, there's something I'd like to do which will be remembered forever in our country. So Mr. Narasimha Rao then also proposed establishment of what we call now Navodaya schools. She said okay, but in the meanwhile she had to give up her constituency in Medak in Andhra Pradesh because she can't keep both the constituencies where she won. So she was giving up Medak. And at that time, General Krishna Rao was the chief of the army. So he went and said, Madam, how can you give up Medak? You must do something for Medak in a big way if you are giving up. Then she said, what should I do? He said, set up a huge ordnance factory in Medak if you are really giving up Medak constituency. That's how this idea went out for consideration at that time. And really a good ordnance factory came up in Medak in Andhra Pradesh, which is functioning very well even now. Same question was asked to Mr. Narasimha by Mr. Rajiv Gandhi when he got that thumping majority which is so far not repeated. Then Mr. Narasimha Rao reportedly told him that I gave this idea, but it didn't come up at that time for various other reasons. If you really are keen to do something that he will be remembered forever, this is what you should do. Our rural areas require this attention. In fact, Mr. Narasimha Rao tried this scheme in Andhra Pradesh. The forerunner of Navodayas is a scheme called AP Residential Society in Andhra Pradesh, which proved to be a thumping success in Andhra. But they were on a smaller scale and they started with one per district and their number of districts were very small. So then Prime Minister said, yes, it looks like a great idea, and he was also very keen to have what is reportedly a Doon type of school in every district. You know, in fact, all this story is given to me by Sri Narasimha Rao only, with whom I worked in this establishment of these schemes and these schools. And it is something very, very, but their commitment in terms of doing something good for the nation sometimes really proves very, very beneficial to us. This is something that I always wanted to convey, which I wrote in that article, but later also in Navodaya meetings where I am invited, I keep repeating this. And something very significant about this system is, today there is some income limit for providing what is called Vidyalaya Vikas Nidhi. Otherwise, at that time, there were no income limits. 25% urban children, 75% rural children, and that's it. No income limit. Amazing. Imagine at national level, you are providing complete education from class 6 to class 12 at no cost to the child, without any income limit, irrespective of from where they are coming, so long as they pass the examination of the NCERT, entrance examination. And how many seats? After all, there are only 80 seats at class 6 level. And today in India, on an average, 5,000 children per district are applying for these 86 on an average. In fact, there are some districts where even 20,000 apply for this admission into 80 seats in a given school. So, this idea of no income limit, and on top of it, I don't know how many of you are aware, reservation for girls. Are reserved for girls. The wording used in the scheme was at least 1/3 of the students would be girls. To the best of my knowledge, I don't know the developments later after, let's say, 15-20 years of my retirement. But to the best of my knowledge, there is no scheme in Government of India that I know of where there is a reservation for girls. And it proved to be such a pain. Today, in Navodaya system, the number of girls in the system is 40%, not even 33. Apart from reservation, number of girls are getting to merit system also. NCERT admission examination was such that if you get the seat by merit, it will not, and if you are a girl, it is not counted against you as a girl. It is merit. Rest of the seats will be devoted for reservation. So this is something that, very, very unique, and it helped a lot. Most of you may not know, very unlikely to know, and we didn't give it any publicity either. First year of the NCERT test in Sultanpur district of the then Prime Minister, the number of girls who applied for the entrance examination was zero. Nobody applied, because in UP, people are not willing to send the girls to residential schools at all. And therefore, in the first year, of course, our publicity might also have been very short. But shockingly, not even one application, forget about passing or failing the examination. In the very first year, there was no entrance exam conducted by the NCERT. But later on, it was introduced, and gradually people came to know that these are not so unsafe for girls. And finally, we managed to provide this reservation, which is very unique in many ways. In our country, there are so many schools with so many speciality or futures, like there are, Ramakrishna Mission schools, there are DAV schools, there are various public schools, modern school, Delhi public schools. They cater to all kinds of people, some to the very rich, some to the rich and middle class, and some to the poor. So one wonders which combination really works. But what I have noticed over the years is, if it is exclusively for one community, like, later our AP residential schools, Andhra, have been divided into girls' schools, boys' schools. Then girls' schools for minorities, schools for non-minorities. Then residential schools for scheduled castes, only residential schools for scheduled tribes only. I mean, this has certainly not given the right perspective to a child who comes out of these schools. Unless, as a society, you know that there are all kinds of people, the rich, the poor, the middle class. If you hobnob for 10 years with only one class of people, your perspective is going to be very, very, very different. So, one observation that I would like to bring in this context to say all this was that we need to see that there is a good mix of students from all sections of society if we want this, what we call tolerance, to really get promoted from childhood onwards, is a point I would like to make. This is highly debatable, I know that, but unless some effort is put in this direction, it may be too late to undo this reservation of schools caste-wise, community-wise, faith-wise, and what have you. This is the first observation I take out of my experience. Now the second one, we had done in Navodaya one experiment with a great education specialist, Sri M.N. Bhuj from Madhya Pradesh. and various others also helped. We produced a series of books called What Research Tells the Classroom Teacher. I don't know whether any one of you had any occasion to see them, those publications. They were very highly appreciated at that time by the Education Secretary also. The titles of the books were various topics. Various subjects. What research tell the classroom teacher? We know that in our country, thousands, if not lakhs of PhDs are produced on research in education, particularly on classroom teaching. Thousands have done research and produced some thesis which gave them the PhDs. But nobody had the energy to collect all that, sum it and convey it to a teacher in our schools. In this subject, research tells that this is the way you should teach this subject. That kind of series came from Navodaya schools, which were circulated to various school systems under the Ministry of HRD. But I do not know what happened, and maybe today it's not so relevant. I'm not sure if it is the world where there is only digital divide, where the students are more alert perhaps than many teachers, and where students have access to information faster than even a teacher can get. But point I'm trying to flag for consideration and debate is, what should we do with all the knowledge we are getting from our own teachers in terms of the teaching techniques? Today it has become very fashionable to go for various softwares and access to them through the net and let the child learn it, and a lot of gadgets are produced. However, I feel that some substantial work lost point, which again became controversial recently only, but otherwise it is something that we tried in Kendriya Vidyalayas, that is monetization of our assets. When Mr. Ashok Man Khere was the commissioner of Kendriya Vidyalaya Sangathan, we started a scheme where, since Kendriya Vidyalayas were located in central areas of various state headquarters and other major cities, we tried to promote a public-private partnership in utilizing the land available within the Vidyalaya to provide infrastructure facilities for sports and games, and more emphatically on swimming. Because our children in Kendriya Vidyalayas didn't have access to great sports facilities by way of huge auditoriums, huge swimming pools, and one could invest through the government on all these infrastructure facilities. Therefore, we sought public-private cooperation, and they worked well to begin with. But later, I believe, I learned that some abuse of the facility stopped the whole thing, and we threw the baby with the backwaters. So, third point is, the assets that Kendriya Vidyalayas have and the assets that Navodaya Vidyalayas have, surely in the shape of buildings alone, are not being put to 100% use. And the neighborhood schools, the neighborhood children can use these facilities by encouraging public-private partnership in establishing these facilities. And it's not as if now all Navodaya Vidyalayas are in very remote areas. About 30% I understand are now more or less grown into semi-urban areas or even urban areas. And that's where, private people will invest because facilities will be given free to our children. Look at how railway stations are being developed today in our country with this public-private partnership. SRT is being developed and multi-storied railway stations are also coming. So I'm not sure whether this will be taken up, but I think it's worth considering the utilization of our huge assets that are lying idle across all our government school systems by proper structure that we may like to evolve by setting up a corporation or what have you, like they're doing it everywhere else. So, one can go on like this for a long time. There are some very interesting episodes of my working in the system, but instead of laboring all those individual episodes, I thought these three main points I'll flag. If it is okay, since Srikanth asked me to leave some time for some questions and answers or for some discussion, I am open for it. Thank you.
We shall have a brief interaction with the participants of this program. I request my colleagues, faculty and staff, if they have any queries, questions related to the functioning of the educational system over a period of time, or like Sri K. Sharma ji has pointed out, what was happening maybe in the initial stages of the formation of this Navodaya school system. If you have any queries, observations that you want to seek, please place your observations before us.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Myself, T. Basireddy, retired principal from Government Navodaya Vidyalaya, Parambaram district, Punjab, sir.
Wow.
Sir, Navodaya schools are best, but no pension for Navodaya staff, sir. No pension. Only Navodaya school, no pension, sir. Remaining schools are having pension. It is a pitiable condition, sir. Retired employees. Can you help us to get pension, sir?
Okay. In fact, I anticipated this honestly, so I didn't touch it. You see, when I was vice chairman of Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti, I moved 2 times cabinet note for getting pension. Okay? And both the times when I moved it, I'm not joking, but fact is, the finance minister was from Tamil Nadu and they had not seen Navodaya at all what to do. And any number of efforts to get pension, or even today, lot of people in our system are working towards it. I'm sure you are aware of it. Mr. Kannan is
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kannan is spearheading that agitation. I have spoken to the finance secretary, I have spoken to the joint secretary. But you see, the point is, an arbitrary date was given as 1/1/84, after which the old pension will not be given. And our schools started, experimental schools started only in 85. And there is some hope, but why all this happened? Because initially, The condition given by the government was on, for that matter, Mr. Narasimha Rao only. He said no teacher will be taken on direct recruitment basis. I don't know how many of you are even aware of it. Everybody has to be a deputy. Why? Because he faced lot of trouble in the Andhra Pradesh residential school system by directly recruiting people. You see, problem in direct recruitment is you get good young talent, but in government you just can't fire people. He felt that if there is a bad teacher, how can he keep on working with him? I have to fire him. And the only way I can fire is if I get them on deputation. So for the first 3 years, my dear, we had taken only principals and deputation, and you know most of them were from sainik schools, army schools, or even the residential schools. So first 3 years, there is not a single employee who was directly recruited as a teacher in Navodaya. This is the background. Why? That is so, the Government of India's decision not to extend pension beyond a cut-off date had nothing to do with Navodaya. Later, of course, there are some organizations which manage it. How? They said, we are earning our own revenues. So what is your problem? We will give it. Like National Open School, even they established much later than 1184, they are getting pension because they have their own source of revenue. Unfortunately, Navodayas don't have a source of revenue. While I agree that this is an absurd iniquity, not being appreciated at all at any level except at the HRD minister's level and our own system. Now, 4 times the cabinet note is moved. And when Mr. Pallam Razu was the minister for HRD, it reached the finance ministry, and for reasons best known to him, he resigned from that post, and the cabinet note never saw the light of day. Now, again, our team is trying, but personally, I am not hopeful because if they make an exception to Navodayas, they have to make it to 100 other institutions in the country which were started later, and it's only the new pension scheme that is happening. I'm glad you raised it, but you know, there are some historical things that you just cannot change. I don't know why 1184 was fixed. And they didn't have at that time, though 1184 was fixed retrospectively, they didn't think of repercussions of organizations which cropped up a little later. I know it's not a very satisfactory answer, but that's the best I can do.
Any other observation or question from the audience, or those people who are online, who have joined online?
Good afternoon, sir. I am Dr. Amma. I would like to know that in the beginning, that when you started Navodaya school, it is to nurture the rural talent. And later I came to know that even the children from city areas also started to admit it. Is it that there is no demand from the rural area for admission to Navodaya? This is one question. The second one I can see, I am sorry, it is my observation. Whenever that we take Navodaya schools for internship, I found out some of the nutritional aspect for the children. I feel the quantity wise that of good food is given, but I feel for the growing children, the quality aspect of the food, a little bit more nourished food has to be given. This is what I have just observed. Since you are in a very important position, what is your comments about my questions?
Very good. I am glad you asked this because, in fact, the scheme itself provides for 75% of the children to be from rural areas and 25% from urban areas. That provides for it, madam. Urban area children can appear for the exam, but only condition is either in urban area or in rural area. You should have studied class 4, class 5 and class 3 before getting into class 6, class 3, class 4, class 5 in a government school only, not private schools. Because private school certificates can be more easily managed than anywhere else. So the scheme itself provided for urban children. Okay, so 25%. Today in about 3 lakh plus students in all schools, the urban children are 20% and rural children are 80%. And you know, it's very interesting to just inform you. In every district, the chairman of the school is the district collector. And during my tenure, about 19 district collectors have admitted their own children into Navodaya schools because they found that it's worthwhile doing it and set an example for others to follow the school. Apart from that, the other question you are asking about nutrition. Navodaya schools are one of the first to start a post of what is called a catering assistant in each school. There is one fellow, and there are certain qualifications prescribed, including some knowledge on nutritional matters. But one must remember that these children are coming from really, really poor backgrounds. You know? In fact, initially, they were getting here in the school in the morning, let us say, cornflakes and porridge. When they go during vacation to their homes, their parents even don't have enough to eat. Forget about giving them anything like that. So their food background is one. See, when does nutrition really get into the system? Before you are even 6-7 years old, you must have had some kind of very nutritious food. Mother's milk, what have you. But, these children are really from poor backgrounds. The first child who stood first from Theo, Shimla district headquarters of Navodaya was Theo. The child who stood first in the district exam, you will be shocked to know, is the 13th child of the same parents. And his other 12 siblings have not gone to school at all. This 13th child, God knows how he managed. He studied 3, 4, 5. And I went to visit that school in Shimla. I was shocked. And you know what? Later I met that boy. On that day when I went to the school, I gave him my fountain pen, whatever was in my pocket. But today, he not only is a graduate in medicine, he has established a big hospital in Shimla. I visited that place also. So, nutrition is something which needs to be attended to. That's why we have a catering assistant's post in each school. But the foundation cannot be changed very, very easily. It will be my submission.
Thank you very much, sir. Very good. Thank you.
Raman.
Sir, I am Professor Gopal. I would like to know the Navodaya's role in the new policy of education. They should act as, because some of the members in our school committee meeting, one Navodaya which is near to us, they are coming. They can act as nodal centers. What do you feel? What is your reaction? Can they do that, catalytic action?
That is my submission. You see, we should use all the facilities and space. How many hours do we we use a school building, tell me? So, neighborhood schools, so many, you have heard of this Vigyan Jyoti scheme in Navodaya?
Yeah.
Such a unique scheme. Why it can't be done by others?
Yes.
I can't understand. Only government has to do it. Ministry of Science and Technology has to do it. There can be initiatives otherwise also. I was a board of directors of the Indian Institute of Science way back when I was additional secretary in HRD. At that time also the cry was, no bright student is going for pure science. All are going for computers. Programming. Today, artificial intelligence, machine operations. Nobody is going for pure science, pure technology, pure mathematics. So somebody has to take some initiative, and I'm sure your question is very valid, sir. The Navodaya people will have to do it, and I understand that RIE and Navodayas worked so closely. It was not the case when I was there, but now I understand from my colleagues in Navodaya. I believe it is not an exaggeration to say that there is at least one teacher in every Navodaya who qualified from RIE.
Yes, sir.
This is what I have learned.
That is true.
That hell of a lot. Srikanth, congratulations to you and your team, your predecessors. I believe there is not one single school without one RIE trained teacher. They are improving their qualifications, etc., etc. In fact, yesterday only I got a message from one of my colleagues, Kendriya Vidyalayas. I don't know how many of you have heard it. One blind teacher from Kendriya Vidyalaya won the jackpot of Kaun Banega Crorepati. Are you aware, sir?
Yes, we have seen that. She was
You have seen that?
Yeah.
Sir, I'm Venkatesh Murthy again.
Okay.
Every year we train a number of teachers for the guidance and counseling program. They enroll with us throughout the country in all the constituent units of NCRT plus the NIE headquarters. A number of teachers, and I presume that there must be at least 2 teachers in every Vidyalaya in the country who have been trained by NCRT on guidance and counseling. The paradox is they are not being allowed to function as guidance workers. Ideally, they go back as subject teachers. Now this is something a cadre has to be created in Navodaya Vidyalaya, Samiti, that those who do this program in NCRT for 1 year would be elevated. So only those people who are in the verge of becoming the PGTs should be allowed to be sent here. This is my plea for the Samiti, but it doesn't reach the people who matter. Therefore, I am raising this before you. Sometimes definitely you would be able to put in this word to the Samiti members, that you see those people who get trained here must be given a chance to work as counselors in the Vidyalaya, and it's a residential setup. And obviously they require school counselors, which is not happening. Consequently, it is only becoming an academic program for them, while it is a professional program. Kendriya Vidyalayas and Navodaya Vidyalayas are the main beneficiaries of this guidance counseling program of NCRT. But then until and unless we create a cadre of counselors in the Navodaya Vidyalayas, I am afraid this will not bear the fruits which was originally intended. Every year they say we are in the process of creating a cadre, both Navodaya Vidyalaya and Kendriya Vidyalaya. That is not happening. This must happen, otherwise it becomes another additional paper qualification for the teachers. They go back and teach the same science and mathematics, they forget all these things. It leads to a wastage of the system. Your views and your take on this?
I can't agree with you more. The ground realities are very, very different, Murthy sir, because they are not, suppose they create that cadre, then there will be immediately huge shortage of science teachers, and assistants, and they don't have the money to fill up those posts. It's a kind of a vicious circle, and I'm sure at some level it will get resolved. But the correct person, I suppose, would be the secretary concerned of the school education department. When once they make up their mind, it would happen. But there also Corona and various other factors must be playing a role in not allowing them to do anything new. For example, I know there is an order today both in Kendriya Vidyalayas and Navodaya Vidyalayas. Until Corona subsides officially, don't entertain any new idea into the system. That is the order, current order put this up. So let us hope that better times will come.
With the permission of the chair, one thing, sir, the purpose of the training the teachers from Navodaya Kendriya Vidyalaya is not to create a separate cadre. It is a teacher counselor model. Every teacher should take the responsibility as a counselor to some extent. That's why that for the last 20 years we are doing now also we are having a batch, and this is the back end of that 3 months contact program. We have to conduct examination and everything. What I am trying to tell is, only thing is that once in a while in the timetable, at least 2 hours per week or something, depending upon the need, and that we have to make provision for these teachers to do the work as a counselor. If you create a separate, there are so many other technical problems. Once again, recognition from some bodies like us, many other things are there. So only thing, our request is, please allow these teachers 2 hours per week or some every day sometime. That also can be shown in the timetable as their workload, and let them do the work as a teacher, science teacher, maths teacher, whatever is there. At the same time, they will be of help to that counselor, because during always nowadays children have a lot of stress, and also as we gather from the teachers of Navodaya, there is lot of stress to the teachers also, because that they expect the result, and there are many children in you can say that Navodayas. There also have some tendency for some suicide and other kind of thing. And since I am handling the counseling, I know that what all kinds of problems they come out with. But only make some provision in the timetable any time, that so that some counseling input will go to the school system. This is the request.
Okay, thank you very much. But you know, you people are making me feel that I am still in charge of Navodaya system.
No, sir, you are the ambassador always, sir. That's why we are making use of the opportunity.
I have relationships with all the commissioners that succeeded me, and they have all been very nice, and they still listen to whatever little I do, and I keep visiting Navodayas. In fact, last Navodaya I visited, you will be surprised to know, is in Tawang district of Arunachal. I went to the remotest corner of China and visited that school, unbelievable school. So I keep in touch, undoubtedly, and I'll convey your feelings, and you're most welcome.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing with us this success story of the Navodaya Vidyalayas, which have been running in the country for decades now, and also for your valuable insights on the way forward for the Navodaya schools. I thank you very much, sir. I now invite our respected principal, sir, to deliver the presidential remarks.
Respected Sri K.S. Sharma ji, the chief guest of today's function, my colleagues, Professor Gopal, Professor Venkatesh Murthy, Professor Padmaja, the faculty of the institute, the teachers, and the participants who have joined online from different schools and also from other places. It gives me immense pleasure to be with you, and especially with Sri K. Sharmaji, with whom I have a very long association, directly and indirectly. Especially, he was known for the old age pensions, the number of old age pensions that he has given in Anantapur district. So that is so great of him that he has, served the district, and the people of that district still remember him. Then, when he was director, I was still a student, and I met him, and I only gave a slip. There were many others waiting, and I gave a slip, and I did not have any designation. I wrote Srikant, Anantapur district. So he called me first. So that was again another association, perhaps he might not remember. This was in around 90s, early 90s. Then again that association continued, and he was like the additional secretary, and I had opportunities to occasionally visit him and take his guidance. And what normally happens is that he's a very keen observer, he takes keen interest, and that's why I thought that institutions like ours will benefit from the historical perspective through which this educational system has evolved over a period of time, by associating ourselves with the personalities who have served the states and country. So that was the reason, and in fact the opt occasion was the August 1st, but Sri K. Sharmaji was busy that day, otherwise we wanted him to chair the session. So this got postponed, and due to sudden eventuality, the function did not happen yesterday, so we are conducting in his family, so we are conducting today, and we are really grateful to him in spite of these kinds of issues. So he has joined with us today. When it comes to the issues that were raised by Sir, I feel that although he was an educational administrator, he has rightly pointed out some of the critical issues that we have to handle today, especially in the area of education, and also the new education policy directly or indirectly deals with these issues. One of the issues that was raised was like common school system. This was also spoken about by the 1964-66 Kothari Commission, which made it pertinent that every school should admit the children of the local area who come with a different background, so that they learn from each other. Normally we have the understanding that only poor kids will learn from rich kids, or those who know, they learn, those who do not know, they learn from those who know. It's not like that. Every human being has something to give to each other. So that way I think this potential of exchanging our perspectives, views, understanding, and this is very critical. I think that was rightly pointed out by Sir. Then the second point is that when he spoke about Butch, I'm also aware of the researchers, and Professor Murthy and myself, at least in Delhi, we have seen these documents ourselves. We talk about evidence-based teaching and learning. Now what happens is that most of the classrooms, especially, they are opinionated, in the sense we learn from the opinions that we collect, either directly or indirectly. As a student, I was understanding a particular subject in this manner, so I would like to teach this subject in this manner. So that kind of thought process certainly will not go a long way in inculcating right kind of values, understanding among the children. So what we need to do is to develop these kinds of understanding, which is based on evidences which are collected from all over, which are time tested, which are proven. The researches for which the people are striving hard, seeing in different areas and how these things are happening. In fact, I must tell you that most of the researchers that we refer to are from Western situations, which may not truly apply in Indian context, because the context could be quite different. So this is a multilingual context, multicultural context that we have, which may not be true in some of the countries where only monolingualism may be prevalent. So that way I think we have a lot to learn. Then monetization of assets, especially I think I was indirectly one of the beneficiary of this particular program. In fact, in the JNU KV, sir, my daughter also studied in the KV from class 1 to 12. So I used to take my daughter to the JNU KV, where this swimming pool that you talked about, in fact, very interestingly, both me and my daughter together learned swimming. So I learned it very late. So, and when I inquired about, these people said that, it is privately funded and half a day is for them post afternoon, and in the forenoon session it was for the children of the KVs. It's a different thing that KV children used to take a dip and come out because they were not given sufficient time. So that happens because there were so many children who had to go for swimming. So but still that exposure in itself was something very great. I believe that that really encouraged people to have these opportunities, which otherwise was not possible for the children of this kind of background. So all said and done, you spoke extensively, and in fact you really initiated this Navodaya school system as an educational administrator under the political leadership of P.V. Narasimha Rao. But what I see right now is a very bright situation, especially among the schools that I visited, and also my friends tell me. In fact, I was talking to Professor Harnath, a Telugu professor, yesterday also about his own experiences. So what I gather from various sources and also my own understanding is that these schools are really successful. In a big country of this kind, if something has succeeded very miraculously, it is Navodaya school system. I will tell you why. Because these are having some kind of participatory management system, in the sense there is a participation of different stakeholders, and also there is some kind of autonomy which is given to these school systems, especially under the chairmanship of the district collector, who can really do a lot, and also the principal, the teachers, and many others, and the students themselves. And these school systems are also accountable, and over a period of time they have made themselves accountable. And this accountability is not simply towards scoring marks, but also developing careers, I think, which is really something very laudable, especially in a country of this kind, because many of these students who have passed out of these institutions, they have really attained a huge success. That itself indicates that these schools are really doing a good job. And what I am also aware of the fact is that they are also having excellent infrastructure. Like you said, every school has to have 30 acres of land, and they have qualified teachers. Though the same question that was posed to you was posed to me in several places, that why KV teachers get pension and nowadays school teachers don't get it. So this is the question which was constantly raised, but still I think when it comes to the job, they are very committed. They are not only qualified, they are committed to their job, and they are doing sincerely. Let me give you some statistics with regard to what is happening at present. In 2020-21, grant in aid to the extent of 3,480 crores was given by the government of India. So this, for the students, the total number of students for 2021 was 2,87,967 students. So the total number of students. When I calculated per child per annum cost, it comes to 1,20,847 rupees. So I browsed through the Navodaya website and got some of the statistics. So which is a huge money per child, in the sense 1,20,840 rupees per child. That is roughly more than 10,000 rupees per month per child, is really a big money that our country is spending towards the education of these children who come from largely from the rural background. So this, as opposed to some of the other schemes like Ekalavya Model Residential Scheme, which gives per child in 2020 at the rate of 1,09,000 rupees, is still higher. Navodaya schools per child cost, per child expenditure is higher. And as opposed to, again, Telangana spent about 50,686 rupees on an average per annum per student in its 602 schools, residential schools in the state. So this indicates that, it is spending, Navodaya is spending double to what Telangana is spending on its residential school children. So, everybody says that money should not be the criteria, or some people say that money is the only criteria. But I believe that money is required, infrastructure and other support systems are required to a great extent, so that children are in a better position to educate themselves. So that way I think Navodaya school systems are well positioned. So that's why they have really become the model schools of the country. And we also talk about how the government school systems are going down. The increase in the enrollment in private sector has gone up tremendously over a period of time. As opposed to that, Navodaya school system, like the intake of students was only 6,253 in 85-86, which is 45,547 in 1920. Though they have a stipulated intake, but consistently, like you pointed out, there has been an increase in the competition among the children and their parents to send their wards, especially the parents, to send their children to these kinds of schools, So that also indicates that these schools are doing well. And when we talk about the school systems, especially I had opportunity to visit different kinds of schools, both government, private, aided, etc. But what I have seen is that the kind of space that is available to each student is so less. In some of the government schools in Delhi, they do not have even to raise their elbow, because other student would touch their elbow if they raise. So that's the kind of environment in which these schools are functioning. As opposed to that, Navodaya schools, strength in each school is 560, and they have 30 acres of land, and if we calculate, on an average they get 2,333 square feet area per child, which is again a huge space, although it is rural areas in most of the districts, and some are, they have become semi-urban. So that way I think they are well placed, not only in terms of infrastructure, but also in terms of finances. Let me come to certain academic aspects, especially as part of this Navodaya school system about which we are talking, and you were the person who has initiated this scheme. And there are certain unique features which are, making this system function better. Like, let me mention some of them. There is somebody called as master on duty, and every system, in fact, they are patterned on Gurukul school system, and this master on duty, he or she takes care of minute aspects related to children. In fact, if somebody has come just now, and he's homesick, and he's having some trouble, so this person takes care of that kind of children, and all kinds of counseling that we are talking about. So support, all kinds of support that these on rotation basis these people do. This is really wonderful. In fact, in many of the schools we have the things in a very symbolic manner, fashion. But as opposed to that, there are many things which are happening in this school system, like music. I have seen some children learning music with passion. And in fact, it has become a hobby for many of these people, children, and when they grow up, certainly it relaxes their mind, and also it gives them an opportunity to develop interest elsewhere. So, and the music teachers and PT teachers, they are the most loved ones. In fact, we know that PT teachers are known for their stringent discipline, but unlike that, here is the place where the students also like them. And also, there is an individualized attention which is also given, like celebrating their birthdays and things like that, which also gives some kind of support to these students to do better. And their involvement, the students' involvement in logistics, like purchasing of provisions, buying of vegetables, and many other things, it engages them in day-to-day activities, and also develops their relationship with the outside world, which is also very important. And there are certain values which we talk about, and in this kind of residential schools, we see them being practiced, especially not to waste the food and things like that. So the teachers are constantly monitoring so that the children don't take the food additionally and waste that. So these kinds of things also help, because values are not taught, they are caught. So that's how these school systems are functioning better. In fact, let me tell you that the children, especially when they join in grade 6, they feel it as a prison, but by the time they are in 12th, they feel it as a heaven. So that is the kind of difference. The reason, because these Navodaya school systems are able to nurture the children during these 6-7 years in such a manner that they get attached to these schools, the teachers, the students, etc. And also, largely they are democratic, and also especially the migration factor, which is very important. It has also enabled a kind of development of the aspect of national integration, value of national integration, which is also very important. While there are many positive points that we can talk about, there are also certain aspects on the flip side. So let me just also speak about them very briefly. One thing that I've observed is that these classrooms, all said and done, they are not truly integrated in the sense that, maybe perhaps for various reasons, the girls and boys sit separately. Not only in classrooms, even the playgrounds are, they are separated. The hostels are separated. Certainly, hostels need to be separated. So, because especially the children at the age of 16, 17, maybe when they are into 11th and 12th. In fact, some of the teachers, let me be very honest with you, some of the teachers have warned us saying that when your young internship students are sent to our schools, ask them to maintain a safe distance with our older children. So this is what is said. I think that is where this issue of counseling and guidance comes into picture, because we have to treat everybody with respect and not see the other person as an object of sex. So that, I think, values need to be nurtured, and for that some kind of open discussions need to happen rather than always separating them, segregating them in a way that becomes a stumbling block. So then again, when it comes to academic aspects, knowledge acquisition is still given importance. We all know that in this 21st century, what we need to talk about is more of applying this knowledge and also using this knowledge elsewhere rather than just cramming the knowledge. So I think somewhere they need to take up this issue rather than focusing on learning what is already there in textbooks and other materials. They need to come out with ways and means through which they can transfer this acquisition to different areas so that they are able to apply this knowledge in a different context and make use of them. And also the last point that I want to mention, the students often get tired. I have seen it myself in the sense they get up very early and they sleep at about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and throughout the day they are engaged, and they become so busy, especially when it comes to the class of social science or language. They feel so sleepy that you can see them lying on their desks. So I think somewhere, because these are the classes which they feel that they don't require so much of their attention, because the science teachers and maths teachers insist that they must focus. Perhaps language teachers and social science teachers could be liberal, or they might feel that some stories are being narrated, so we can have a nap. So I think somewhere these kinds of things are also seen. So there is a system which is functioning in a very vibrant manner, but still something can be done to improve them so that they can perform better. I think we have focused very nicely, especially Shri K. Sharma ji has triggered our understanding with regard to the past experiences and how they are going on, and especially how we can help them. And even the new education policy also talks about especially the school complexes. In fact, they require lead schools which need to be the leaders, in the sense these schools and the principals of these schools have to be the leaders in their respective areas. I think certainly Navodaya schools can perform the role of lead schools, and that way they will be very helpful. Thank you very much, sir, for the valuable time that you have given to us, and there will be a separate vote of thanks, but I am really grateful to you for sharing your valuable time with us. Thank you very much.
I call upon Professor Harinath. He was the former head of DESSH.
Yes.
Professor Ramdas, Department of Education, is also the in charge of the audiovisual section of the institute. Dr. Nagaraj, librarian, Anand University. Mr. Shivakumar of DMS. Thank you, sir. We have almost reached the end of today's session. I now request Professor C. Padmaja, Head, Department of Extension Education, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Parmita. Good evening to all. I deem it as a privilege to propose vote of thanks on this day, that is September 1st, the day NCERT is born. To commemorate this occasion, RIE Mysore, a constituent unit of NCERT, joins the family of NCERT to celebrate the birth of NCERT. I thank Shri K.S. Sharma IAS for accepting our invitation and delivering lecture on decades experience in school education and significant observations. Sir, your lucid talk on education has thrown insights into new dimensions on education and much needed reforms for the 21st century with equal opportunity to education irrespective of caste, creed, religion and sex. Thank you, sir, once again. I thank our principal, R.A. Mysuru, Vice Shrikant, who has been always a pillar of support, and he has given strength for DEE to conduct all the programs. Thank you, sir. I also take this opportunity to thank Team Research, Dean of Instruction, heads of the departments, faculty of the institute and DMS, non-teaching staff of RIE, conveners of various committees, and all those who have joined us in this celebration of the line and making this program a success. Thank you all. Now I request the audience to stand for national anthem.
अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाता जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे